Hey, what's going on, everybody? Appreciate you tuning in to On the Ball podcast. Glad to have you come on through. Got a lot to talk about tonight. Talk about some NFL, as usual. But tonight we're going to do some NBA talk as well, which is exciting because the season's back. What's going on, Jory? Season is back tomorrow. So tonight we're going to be doing a tier list. You know we love tier lists here on the show. We have an NBA one coming up later on. So make sure you stick around for that. Should be a lot of fun. But look, before we get into everything, he's not guarding the two, he's guarding the three. Brett, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to talking some sports tonight. So let's get it.
Exactly. Yeah. So look, the NFL season, we're about halfway through. It's crazy, I know. But some interesting kind of storylines are developing and have been for the past couple of weeks. Want to start off talking about a couple of them. First off, we got to talk about Tua.
Do we have to?
I mean, grand scheme, probably not, because it's the same story, different day. Day riddled with interceptions. The turnovers are a big problem. Riddled with, Mike McDaniel rumors about being fired and everything. That's Tua's stat line. He went 12 for 23, 100 yards, 3 picks, the 2 sacks, a QBR of 3.4, which is astonishingly low. Quarterback rating of 24.1. So with McDaniel's job on the line and everything that goes along with that, Mike McDaniel has come out and said Tua's his quarterback, but he expects less interceptions. Kind of wild to say that coming off of a 3 interception day and multiple interception games this season from Tua, that McDaniel's expecting less interceptions going forward. So I'm at the point where that's lower than Deshaun's last year. Yeah, that which is fascinating. But with everything going on, with the questions about McDaniel's job, should Tua still be the starter? Quinn Ewers did get into the game yesterday. I mean, he was 5 for 8, 53 yards. Sure. QBR was a lot higher, and his rating was a lot higher. So should McDaniel stick to Tua, knowing full well his job's on the line?
I mean, considering Tua's putting out quarterbacks rating so low that Bill Belichick's probably going to try to date it soon, probably. That's the thing with Tua. He just hasn't shown anything anymore.
Yeah.
He's a quality quarterback at times.
Mm-hmm.
He's almost to the point where he's a spot starter or a high-end backup. The days of thinking Tua is your franchise guy, it's over. It's done. So I think the real answer is just draft another quarterback next year and hope for the best. Get rid of Mike McDaniels.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, honestly, at this point, you might as well start Quinn Ewers, see if you have anything with him, because clearly you don't have anything with Tua. That man is burnt toast.
And that's kind of my thing. If you look, McDaniel has to know his job's on the line. He can act like it's not for whatever he wants. But if I'm going to go down anyway, why not just throw Quinn Ewers out there? What if Quinn Ewers has a Jackson Dart type of effect where he injects some energy into the team and they play a little bit better? Why not try it? If you're going to get canned anyway, but at least you can't sit there every week on the sideline and watch Tua single-handedly sink your ship in Miami, especially after the offseason where he spoke about, oh, you're so friendly with him, you're so supportive. And now Tua's turning around, putting the knife in your back on your way out, which is kind of crazy. But hey, he didn't want Brian Flores. This is what Tua gets. This is what the Dolphins organization gets as a whole. They made their bed with this. But yeah, I don't understand why you would stick with Tua at this point.
And
He needs to stop talking after the games too. That doesn't do him any favors either.
yeah, it's funny, right? Yeah, when he speaks at a press conference, you can almost tell, like, you know how like the Green Goblin speaks to Norman Osborn, and you can hear it. You
Yep.
can almost tell, like, when the CTE starts talking instead of Tua. Like, yeah, it's just over. And the funny part with this is, if McDaniels wants the best chance to save his job, which would require an absolute Hail Mary,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to require going to Quinn Ewers, because Tua is just going to sink his job at this point.
Exactly.
If he's not already fired, then at this point, his best bet to save his job is put in Ewers, see what he has in him, and maybe if Ewers goes on a hot streak, you can convince management of something. But current trajectory, yeah, it's all over.
Yeah. And I also don't get why McDaniels is talking about I expect less interceptions. Why would you expect that at this point? At this point, I'm expecting Tua to throw at least 2 a game. I'm just worried, like when they happen, what's the magnitude? Because yesterday, this like the image is showing, this was them backed up at their own goal line, and he threw this pick, which led to a short, like rushing touchdown for the Browns. It's like stuff like that you just cannot do. Like if you're throwing one downfield, 3rd and long, and you're just heaving it, sure, you can live with that, I guess. But stuff like this it's just crazy. And Tua coming out of Alabama was supposed to be good with the ball, safe. Not anymore. Bad enough he doesn't have the strongest arm either, but
Saying it's unfortunate because they were really still in this game, and then coming out of half, you're down 2 scores, but you get the ball back, get the ball first, and then he throws a pick 6 to Tyson Campbell to effectively seal it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's the thing. It's right there. Crum's making a great point too. You can't stop with McDaniels though. Chris Greer, the GM of the Dolphins, just has to go to.
Yes.
Like, what really has he brought to this team that you go, yeah, that's a building block we need to keep? He's brought so many building blocks. We have to keep him. Like, he hasn't done that. You look at this team and you're like, he brought us like, Chop Robinson, which is cool, I guess, but in terms of like blue chip prospects outside of like, maybe you're like, Jalen Waddle and maybe like Achane Robinson, like there's not really much to work with there. So not only does Mike McDaniels have to go, but I think you have to just fully reset the culture in Miami, and Greer has to go as well.
Yep. I agree. Like, that's the biggest thing. McDaniel, I feel like once he gets fired, because obviously it's going to happen, he'll become some OC somewhere, and now probably be more fitting for his ability. But looking at Miami post McDaniel, is like you said, from the front office down, they need to kind of sweep it out and bring in people that will bring like winning to Miami. Look, as a Patriots fan, I hope this lasts forever, but Jalen Waddle's a guy that I don't like hate as a Patriots fan. So seeing him have to deal with this, I feel bad for him. Guys like Chop Robinson, who's a young player, he didn't choose to go Miami. Miami chose him. And now he's in the middle of this. So it's just like, as much as maybe some people want to root for Tua, with all the head injuries and everything, you have to wonder his days as a starting quarterback, if this isn't it for him as well. And I don't know. Well, look, I know he has a kind of a hefty price tag in Miami, but if you move on from McDaniel, you probably should move on from Tua. But the problem is, I don't know if you can move him. And do you necessarily want Tua as your backup?
So I think they're pretty much stuck with him at least through next season too.
Yeah.
So Tua's not really going anywhere. That being said, I think you can still kind of keep Tua in there as like a backup, or maybe, just maybe, you don't. There's not a quarterback that you like in the early round, so you draft a project in the second round.
Yeah.
Then maybe you can keep Tua starting just so you don't have to throw your rookie quarterback in there right away, and you tank for another year. So I think Tua, there's a very real chance he's still the starter next year, but I think he'd be the starter with a blue chip prospect behind him who's taking his job as soon as they can get out of that contract.
Yeah. No accountability. Yes, that's obviously a problem down there. Tua needs to stop talking. Love this. He's unsabanized. Right. He wouldn't get away with this at Alabama. All right, look, that's one situation that's a mess. Well, it's not the only situation. Justin Fields. Look, we got to talk about him. Look, Fields is a guy I root for. Liked him out of Ohio State. He went to the Bears. I was like, I'm interested to see what he does. Didn't do well there. He got to the Jets, had a really good preseason. So if you ever wanted a poster child for not overreacting to the preseason, Fields is that guy, because now the season's halfway through. He's been miserable. He had another terrible game yesterday, and it just seemed like Aaron Glenn at the end of the first half, when Fields took that sack that took them out of field goal range, like that was it with him. They brought in Tyrod Taylor, who ends up throwing 2 interceptions, so not like it was the great substitution, but it is tough to coming off the bench and perform the game, whatever. But looking at Fields, I'm going to ask the same question: does Fields deserve to start another game, at least this season, in New York?
No. Justin Fields is interesting because, like I said, his main problem is he just holds on to the ball too long. But he also doesn't like to take chances and throw into tight windows. And that's a problem because you have to do that at the NFL level. Or throw with anticipation, which Justin Fields does not have. So it's funny with him because you always look at his stat lines and you'll be like, oh, 0 interceptions, and that's great. But it's not really great. He's too safe with it, where he's not taking any chances. He's not taking any risks. He's taking like bad sacks instead of taking a chance down the field. So Justin Fields is like the perfect enigma of why not throwing interceptions isn't always a good thing. And I think his time as a starter is just over. He might be able to be a backup somewhere, but I think at this point it's abundantly clear what he is, but also it's clear what he isn't. And what he isn't is a quality starting quarterback in the NFL.
Blame the Bears? Yeah. I mean, some of this obviously has to go towards the Bears, because the Bears' structure was not in place to really help Justin Fields or develop him in any way. Probably the worst spot he could have gone outside of Chicago was New York. Because name the last New York quarterback that developed into like a great player.
Hey, Mark Sanchez beat Tom Brady in like his second season in the playoffs.
I mean, I feel like that was more Rex Ryan in the defense, but hey. Also, watching Rex Ryan have to like talk about a good Patriots team on ESPN brings me such joy, because he doesn't want to, but I absolutely love it.
I'm tired of Rex Ryan already.
He has his moments.
No, he was just saying some stupid stuff about Jordan Love. No, we're not doing this. Here's my problem with that. With Justin Fields, it's the line's fault. It's coaching's fault. At some point, we have to turn and look at Justin Fields. It can't always be somebody else's fault with him. I get frustrated with that. Look, I get it. He's had some bad situations, but we've seen quarterbacks overcome bad situations and show flashes. Justin Fields has done none of that. He hasn't overcome. And when he finally got to a good situation with Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh, he looked serviceable. He looked like a spot starter, which I think is exactly what he is in the league. And the difference between him and Caleb Williams is Caleb Williams is willing to take chances, is willing to push the ball down the field. He's way more aggressive than Justin Fields. So I want to kind of shut that narrative down because that's the part that bothers me when it comes to Justin Fields. It's always the coaching, it's the offensive line, it's it was slightly too warm for him that day, and his breakfast was overcooked. Like, it's always something else, and no, we're not doing that. Justin Fields is just not a starting quality quarterback, and that's okay. There's a lot of money to be made being a backup.
Absolutely true. Yeah, I mean, look, for Jets fans, it's got to be frustrating. Like, they had the Aaron Rodgers thing for a couple of years, never worked out. They got Justin Fields. I feel like they felt kind of encouraged by the fact that, the preseason he was using his legs, he was making plays with his arm, and they were like, oh, maybe we finally got that guy that we can have somewhat of a window with. And now it's just they're back at square one where they don't have a quarterback. And I'll also say this. I think what we're also learning, that defense has fell off like in a major way. I mean, yeah, they looked all right against the Panthers, but I still don't see necessarily like this top 5 defense that they were a couple of years ago. So I feel like they slipped there. Their offense, they have Garrett Wilson, you have Breece Hall. What else are you really, threatened by on the offensive side of the ball? I just think the Jets are just flawed top to bottom.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you get rid of Robert Saleh. Your defense falls apart. Makes sense.
Yep. Like that with Trevor Lawrence. We can definitely talk about Trevor Lawrence here in a second, too. Okay, well, that is true.
You're right, Anthony. You're right.
Oh, all right. So the last 2 comments here are about the Jets and are they going to win a game this season? That was going to be my follow-up to this. And I will sit here. I'll bring up their schedule to give us a pointer of reference to see might turn it into a weekly game show segment. Will the Jets win anytime soon? So looking at this week coming up.
Kyle, can we just agree that their one win is going to come on November 23rd?
November 23rd. Look, if that happens, it might be the best show ever on here. So next week they have the Bengals, which after Joe Flacco played against the Steelers, that looks more like a loss than anything now. I'm not expecting the Jets to stop Chase and Higgins, so we'll count that as a loss. Then they get their bye week. They can't lose that week. They got that at least.
I don't know. They'll find a way.
I mean, yeah, they'll embarrass themselves on the bye week somehow. They have the Browns coming out of the bye. There's one thing you can say about the Browns. Their defense is relentless. Gabriel isn't terrible at quarterback. They have Judkins, who's running the ball well. Like, I'm expecting a loss there for the Jets. They have the Patriots after that. Come on. It's Drake May's world. They're not winning that one.
Absolutely not. And here's the game where I said we can agree they're going to get their one win.
So November 23rd, they go to Baltimore. As much of a mess as Baltimore is right now, if the Jets pull that game off, I'm telling y'all right now, I'm throwing a party on this show because I would love to see Ravens fans explain that one. But they're also telling us that Lamar's coming back, so the Ravens are fine. So I guess they're going to blow up the Jets anyway. I don't know. Kerm wants to get into the Giants. We'll talk about the Giants a little bit later. Then they have the Falcons. Like, I don't know. That's going to be in New York. The Falcons on the road are a bit different. But even with that, I can't pick the Jets to win that game. December 7th, they have the Dolphins. That might be it because the Dolphins are a mess right now. The Jets are a mess. One of them's got to win it unless they tie, which Maybe that's what the outcome's going to be, but that might be their game. Then they have the Jags. They have the Saints. Saints are bad. They're not Jets bad. Saints actually put up a fight. And then they have Patriots, Bills to end their season.
I'd say I could see them beating the Dolphins.
I feel like that's the game they have to circle.
I could see them winning that second Bills matchup because I'm guessing by then that playoff seed is already locked up. So I guess it's who would you rather take, the Jets or the Bills? Backups.
Mm-hmm. Anthony says they might beat the Saints. Look,
but the Saints have at least shown to be like competitive when they lose. The Jets just aren't even that. They're just there. I forget they're on the field half the time watching them.
Like they are just wasting 3 hours on a Sunday. They're not competing. They look a mess. I look, unfortunately, Aaron Glenn could be one and done. Like I said, I wouldn't necessarily pin all this on him. He's a defensive guy. I think the defense is a bit overrated. So I think Glenn needs time to even fix that side of the ball. And then the offense, like we said, they just don't have playmakers on offense. So I think it's a little bit of a stretch to think Glenn in his first season was going to make this group into some type of, wild card team. So if you move off Glenn after 1 year, I don't know if that's necessarily fair to Glenn, but
and it's one of those things. It's just so tough to rank the defense as well because, we're literally looking at the quarterback stat line. Like, you don't have any efficient quarterbacks. There's more interceptions than touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you're just putting the defense on the field time and time and time and time again, how are you supposed to really truly evaluate, how good the defense is?
And it's a good point. So I feel like if the Jets wanted to show some patience, they should look at this year as a throwaway year and address the quarterback position for sure, whether it's the draft or a free agent. With their history, probably not the draft. Try to get a free agent to go there. Yeah, get a wide receiver, get something on offense. Like Garrett Wilson, whatever. But if I'm a defense and the only guy I really worry about is Garrett Wilson, it's easy to cover him. And, Breece Hall would in the running back position is like on the trade block apparently. Like, I think it's going to get really ugly in New York. Then they almost beat Denver. Denver is an interesting team to talk about too, which we'll get into them as well. Denver goes from like setting football back 50 years to looking like the greatest team ever against the Giants. I was watching that game and I was just like, the Giants are really going to go in and like beat Denver handedly until they didn't. So it doesn't surprise me that they hung with Denver. Denver kind of lets teams hang around for whatever reason. Bo Nix has been kind of inconsistent, but that's just Denver's story this year.
I have two friends that are Giants fans. My one, I texted, asked him if he's okay, and just like, no. Just a brutal way for them to lose that game.
Yeah. Like I said, we'll get into that. Because actually, let's see, who's the other team? Okay, so Trevor Lawrence, I don't have a graphic for him. Probably should have thought about that. Lawrence and the Jags go to London. The poor people in London had to witness that. I feel like you and I have talked about Trevor Lawrence on the show. We're not the biggest Trevor Lawrence people, but when you look at that game, you look at the start to the season that they've had, is it not safe to say now the Jags are just frauds?
Oh, yeah. I think the Jags are like the easiest frauds to spot from a mile away, it felt like, right?
Yeah.
They're just, I talked about the defense. I questioned how good they were if they're not getting takeaways.
Yep.
say. And the offense with Lawrence is just so inconsistent. Ironically, it felt like the offense almost clicked last year when Lawrence was out. I think Mac Jones was the starter for like the second half of that year. And that's really when like Brian Thomas Jr. found his stride. So I think the problem with Trevor Lawrence a lot of the time is he's just very inconsistent when he throws the ball. So when he passes a lot of the times, sometimes he has such perfect touch on his throws, and then the other he just throws an absolute fastball. And I think what a lot of people miss when he does things like that is it confuses the receivers, because now you don't know if you're getting a good touch on the ball, you don't know if you're just going to throw an absolute rocket. And you have to adjust for things like that, which can lead to, drops. So I think, obviously the receivers do have to do better at catching some of these balls, which is a big part of the Jaguars' problem. But Trevor's also just got to be a little more consistent with some of these throws, like putting, he's got to get more touch on him and not flip-flop between, getting great touch, throwing an 100-mile-an-hour check down. Like, so like he's just got to throw. As much as it's on the receivers, I think he's got to throw it a little better too.
Yeah, and some of the throws against the Rams, like he's putting those receivers in like compromising positions, which that only gets into the head of some of these wide receivers. And once that happens, like they become a mess. So, look, Liam Cohen was giving him credit for Baker Mayfield in Tampa. It seems like he has a chore in his hands with Trevor Lawrence for sure. And I thought this was a important year for Trevor Lawrence. And look, there's still some time for them to turn it around, but starting off like 4-1, now losing a couple of games, if they outright miss the playoffs this year, do we have to ask, is Trevor Lawrence not worthy of starting in Jacksonville? They need to find somebody.
I mean, you can ask, but the other problem just ends up being, they just paid him, right? Like, they can say, yeah, he's not worthy of starting, but then also, what are you going to do with the contract?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, you can't just cut him, and nobody, I promise you, nobody's
nobody's trained for that.
Be like, yeah, I'll take on all that Trevor Lawrence dead money. Like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he doesn't have an out until 2028 or 2029. So they literally are just stuck with him for at least the next 3-4 years. So
yeah, and I don't know if it gets any better, because like I said, the AFC is getting better around him, and they're kind of stale right now. Seems like Travis Hunter is officially a wide receiver. They rarely play him on defense. Yeah, I mean, I guess to them, wide receiver is the bigger need, which I guess, Brian Thomas Jr. struggled a bit this year. Travis Hunter did have his best game against the Rams. So, maybe there's something there. But, yeah, I don't know. It seemed like they were going to use him differently, and now they've kind of backed away from that. Even though they did say he was going to primarily be a wide receiver and like his secondary position would be corner. But yeah, I just think that they're a team that's going to start slipping down the standings now.
Well,
all right.
Go
ahead.
I wouldn't jump on Travis Hunter like too much right away. I think we have to remember that it's, we're 7 games into his career here. I've seen too many people call him a bust already or a disappointment. It kind of bothers me. Like, he's a young player. We got to give him, more than 7 games to develop. I thought he had a couple of really nice play against the Rams. That pass breakup he had on Devontae is not a lot of plays a quarter was making. Because Tay had him beat, but he was able to catch up and have a nice pass breakup. So overall, I think when it comes to Travis Hunter, while some people might be disappointed at the Jaguars' usage of him, we also got to remember he's young and he's trying to play 2 positions, so he's probably going to come on along a little more slowly than most.
Right, because my thing was they should pick one side of the ball. Like if you were going to have him be a corner, then use him in packages where he's maybe like a gadget wide receiver or a slot guy. If you want to use him as a wide receiver, then maybe use him as a slot corner in like man coverage where all you're asking him to do is like follow some guy around and whatever. But if they want, like, if people were thinking he's going to do both jobs the same way in learning the defensive scheme and the offensive scheme at the same time, that's a lot to put on a young player. So maybe they're bringing him along slowly on defense, which I can't be mad at that. But I think Jacksonville, was a team that I think people kind of wanted to buy into, whether it was they want Trevor Lawrence to be something that maybe he's not. They were excited for Travis Hunter going there. And I think what we're learning, the Jags just aren't that good. They had a good little start, and we'll see after these 2 losses, like, what kind of team they are. Does the trend continue and they just keep losing, or can they right the ship and hold on to a playoff spot? Because they currently have one, I believe. And I believe the team that's like right outside the playoffs are the Chiefs, who have all the momentum in the world right now with them. Okay, so Kerm wanted to talk about the Giants. Like you said, your friend was heartbroken after that game. But looking at that game, and I think I saw like a post somewhere where somebody like pointed out some call, was like, oh, look at that call. And like the first comment was, don't give up 33 points in the fourth quarter. So I thought that was the perfect answer to that. When you were up like you were, Bo Nix was having a rough game. I know that you have a young quarterback and everything like that, which Daboll, I guess somebody asked Daboll about any coaching changes because of the collapse. And I was like, I mean, why would they do that off of one game? But I guess the question you always have to ask, did the Giants lose it, or did the Broncos get credit for the win?
I'd say I think that in all reality the answer is just kind of both, right?
Yeah.
Because
that's
they just
usually what the answer is, yeah.
Because it just kind of goes hand in hand. The Broncos shouldn't have had a chance to come back in that game, but the Giants just completely malfunctioned.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's one guy that needs the finger pointed at him, because we can talk about, defense, but they can only play what's called. And I thought Shane Bowen called an awful game down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I get it. You're up. You probably stay in prevent to try to avoid allowing the big plays. But the problem is, like, they just kind of stayed in prevent. Even when, like, the lead game was about to fall apart, like, on the cusp of the Broncos coming back, they're still playing 10, 15 yards off the receivers. Like, what are you doing? I think that Shane Bowen just called an absolute disaster class of a game. And it's unfortunate because obviously the first, 55 minutes of the game went great for them. They're up 25-8.
Mm-hmm.
But his refusal to, like, adjust the defense and just kind of change up from what wasn't working, his stubbornness kind of cost them. And this isn't the first time that's happened. He kind of did the same thing in the Cowboys game. As soon as they get a lead, he goes into this, like, prevent defense shell to try to, don't allow the big play, don't allow the touchdown, which is something I've seen a million times from Joe Barry.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what happens when you do that? You allow the big play because you're just giving playmakers a lot of space. So overall, it's unfortunate. And I think a lot of the blame, though, just has to go on the disaster class. That was Shane Bowen wanting to drop 8 and only rush 3, even though at some point you should have been like, hey, this isn't working. They're coming back. Let's try something new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, for Jackson Dart and, those players, I know after the game there was video going around of Brian Burns, like, visibly upset going up the tunnel into the locker room. You got to wonder, the good feelings that they were having, does a loss like this kind of kill all that? And does their season kind of get away from them? Or can they rebound from a loss like this and get back to playing the, I guess, inspired football, we'll say, with Jackson Dart? That would be a bit of a, like, learning experience for Jackson Dart. Like, if he can lead this team back to them playing like they did for, like you said, 55 minutes and looking like they were going to beat a quality opponent in Denver, then we'll look back at this in a year or two and might say, hey, they had a moment where they struggled, whatever. But if this just completely ruins their season, yeah, you're gonna have to wonder about the psyche of this Giants team. Do you blame Dart? He played
No. Dart literally played a fantastic game, and when the Broncos came back, scored again. Like, the end of the game with 32 points. If your offense drops 32, that should be enough to win a football game in the NFL.
Especially the way Bo Nix and that offense was looking. Yeah, they should have won.
Yeah, and then, but it all comes back down to the other end at the end of the day. Like, I saw too many people like, oh, let's blame the kicker. No, let's blame the guy who, mind you, you're only up 3 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Prevent hasn't been working all quarter. So what did Shane Bowen call? Another prevent defense, drop 8 back. And the funny part is Dexter Lawrence or Abdul Carter weren't even in the game rushing the passer. Like, it was just a gross mismanagement of assets. Like, we can say that the players need to play better, obviously, on the defensive end, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it all starts with them just not being put in an opportune position to succeed, and it just snowballed from there.
Yeah. And for your young group, start snowballing. Maybe that was a little bit too much. And look, the prevent defense thing, I know teams love to do it, but if like you said, you can't have Abdul Carter and your better pass rushers on the defensive line off to the sideline. Because if you're going to play prevent, at least you want all those guys back in coverage, but you want guys who can still get after the quarterback so that way the quarterback does feel a little bit rushed and not just standing back there, waiting for guys to come open in the soft spot of the zone or whatever. So, yeah, the DC obviously has to get a lot of blame for it. And, yeah, Dart played a good game. So I'm not going to put that on him. So I did have this up for the Colts. Question is, are the Colts the best team in the NFL right now?
By technicality, sure, they have the best record. And it's one of those things where I'm hesitant to call them the best team because at the end of the day, I've seen this before where a journeyman quarterback gets hot at the beginning and falls off at the end of the year. I think they could very well make a nice playoff run and surprise some people. Well, at this point, if you're surprised, you're just not watching. But yeah. I think they have a real chance. If you want to call them the best team in the NFL, I won't argue with you. But my biggest concern will always just come back to, can this be sustained by Daniel Jones? I think it can be, and I think that they do have one of the best teams in the NFL.
Okay. All right. So based off of record, yes. So I'll say this. If you take the record away, just watching the teams that you have, would you say they are the best team in football? Not taking the record into consideration.
I think they're up. I think they're one of them because that's something we said coming into the year. If the quarterback play holds up, that they have a good defense, they have a running back, they have good wide receivers. Like, that's something we all said before the year even started. It all came back down to quarterback play. But do they have the best? I wouldn't say they have the best roster in the NFL. I think other teams like Philly still probably have a better roster than them. Detroit. But when it comes to the Colts, I think they're up there in that conversation. I think they have an immensely talented roster. It all just came down to, can the quarterback, bring whoever wins the quarterback job, can they bring it all together for him? And so far, Daniel Jones has absolutely answered the call. So, yeah, I think even just comparing rosters, they're up there. That's for sure.
Are they the best team in the AFC? Because there's that team in Kansas City that a lot of people are jumping back on the Chiefs bandwagon now. You have New England, who is on a winning streak or whatever. You have Buffalo, that a lot of people still think is one of the best teams in the AFC. Are the Colts the best team in the AFC?
So tough. I that's so tough because Kansas City are heating up. I might have to still give it to Kansas City because that gap at quarterback is just so enormous, and they're them getting Worthy and their receivers back are huge. And after a slow start, the Spags defense is starting to come to life. They have some talent on that end, so I think when it comes to the AFC, I'll probably just roll with Kansas City still being the best team and the team to beat until somebody beats them. But I think this Colts team is, it's right up there.
Yeah. All right. I mean, yeah, it's the AFC is definitely still wide open. The Chiefs just get Rice back. They looked good against a Raiders team that, let's be honest, the Raiders are a mess. And I mean, we can talk about the Raiders too here in a second, but it's just like, it's hard to count the Chiefs out, like Kerm said. It's hard not to think if the Chiefs get the bye or something like that, and you have to go to Arrowhead in the playoffs, it's hard to count against the Chiefs pulling that out. And then it's like between the Colts and the Chiefs, there's a lot of teams that you just don't know how they're going to play in the postseason. Buffalo, we kind of know who they are, but look, New England is a young group. You don't know how they'll react. If the Jags can hold on, we've seen the Jags in the playoffs before, not that great. The Chargers, how healthy will the Chargers be by then? Denver, like we said, Denver's offense goes through these stretches where they can't even move the ball, and it's just like, I don't know. Maybe this is one of those weird years where, the Colts find their way, I guess, to a Super Bowl. I don't know. Like, Jonathan Taylor is having an MVP type year. We obviously know they hate giving that award to running backs unless you go like crazy with like records and stuff like that. Can Jonathan Taylor carry that offense, deep into January? I don't know.
Perfect blueprint for
It's going to
January
be fascinating
football.
to see. Yeah. I mean, yeah, because you play in some cities with some bad weather. It's going to come in handy having a Jonathan Taylor. There we go. Who's more in trouble to miss the playoffs, the Chargers or the Packers?
Am I being trolled?
I'm taking it as a real question.
I can't tell if I'm being trolled or not.
I'm assuming Anthony wasn't necessarily blown away by the Packers' performance against the Cardinals, and I mean, we saw what happened to the Chargers against the Colts. So we'll take it as a legit question.
Random question. It's easy. The Chargers. Next question.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that seems like, yeah.
But, okay. Well, I'm going to counter the Cardinals game with something else. Let's say you're not impressed with a Packers eking out a 4-point victory over the Cardinals. What does that say about the Chargers with a 2-point victory over the Dolphins? They barely beat the Dolphins.
They had to come back in, yeah.
And they had to come back down against the Dolphins. Like, the Cardinals have at least been playing teams tough. The Dolphins have just been doormats for even the Cleveland Browns. Like, one team is 4-3 and the other is 4-1-1, first in the NFC North. And it could be first in the NFC, depending on the result of tonight's game. Like,
right. With the
as long as the Packers don't suffer massive injuries to, like, Jordan Love or Micah Parsons, I don't think they're in any danger of missing the playoffs at this point.
So I thought maybe Anthony was coming from this with that division being really close between them, the Lions, and the Bears. And right now the Bears are the first team out of the playoffs. So if it somehow turned out that the Packers finished third, which, like I said, they're only, half a game up on those two, maybe that's why the Packers were being brought up. I don't know. But looking at the Chargers, They are the second wild card team. They have the same record as the Chiefs, who were the first team out of the playoffs. The Bengals are a game back, and look, I don't know what the Bengals will look like between now and mid-December when Burrow is supposedly going to be ready. But that game against Pittsburgh did show me something that maybe they can stick close to the playoff chase with Flacco. I mean, they had that man scrambling that he picked up like 15 yards. I didn't know Flacco had that in his body. So maybe that's where Anthony was coming with this. Like, and I get it. The Packers are in a tough division. But yeah, the Chargers have to be the answer because they are a beat up team right now. And you just don't know how healthy they're going to be as the season goes on. They're already missing Slater. They're missing Alt. I think they have another injury to a tackle. They're like on their third string right tackle or something. I think Becton got hurt as well. He's an interior lineman. Like they could run into some issues here, especially with like some of those divisional games. That we're going to have to see how the Chargers can kind of hold up with those games.
And here's the thing about Parsons, right? Because I know he doesn't always get, he doesn't always get sacked. He just had a 3-sack game against Arizona. Mm-hmm. He has 5.5 sacks. But at the end of the day, we're talking about a guy who, as I just mentioned, has 5.5 sacks. He's top 10 in pressure rate. And he's anchoring the best run defense in the league right now. So outside of one game against the Dallas Cowboys, this Packers defense has been pretty lights out. Like if your worst game of the year outside of that Dallas game is allowing 23 points, there's a lot of teams that would die for that. Considering that we've also had multiple games where we're holding teams to like 10, 13, 16. So overall, I think the Micah Parsons impact is actually completely understated at times because everybody just looks at the sack total. Mm-hmm. When in all reality, his big impact was always going to be he's going to draw doubles and he's going to open up a lot of one-on-ones across the board and put these quarterbacks in a lot of pressure. So overall, I think Micah Parsons has just been a terrific addition for the Packers. Can't understate that enough. He's been dominant, even if the sacks don't necessarily show it that way.
Yeah, I mean, looking at points allowed, they have given up the same amount of points as the Vikings have. And the only teams that have given up less points than the Packers in the NFC, the Falcons, the Seahawks, the Rams. That's it. So they're not getting up a lot of points. And with that offense, you'll always put yourself in a good position to win games. So, yeah, I think the Chargers are definitely the team to be more worried about. So I guess I did say the Raiders. I should have put up a graphic about Geno Smith. Why? Why does he continue to have a starting job? Now, the Raiders got blown out by the Chiefs yesterday, and it wasn't pretty. The Raiders' total yardage, 95. In 2025 in the NFL, we have teams out here with less than 100 total yards. That's crazy. They only ran for 25, which Ashton Jeanty has not had the impact that a lot of people thought when he was drafted. But it's also hard for him to have an impact when the quarterback isn't much of a threat. So how long should the Raiders wait moving off of Geno? I mean, I know your option is Kenny Pickett, but would you rather Kenny Pickett over what we've seen from Geno Smith going forward? Or do you just kind of let Geno burn out this year and hope for the draft in the offseason?
it really wouldn't hurt to try Kenny Pickett at this point, right? And I'm not a Kenny Pickett fan, but
It's got to be better than Geno.
it can't be worse than what Geno Smith is doing right now. Like, it has just been awful. It feels like Geno's like arm strength has almost regressed enough. Like last year, a lot of these throws he was making them, he could fire them up the seams and everything, no problem. But yeah, he's come to the Raiders and now he's just lost that touch to connect on some of these more difficult throws. So they're probably not going to go off from him because they just paid him and paid a third rounder to get him. But yeah, it's rough. I just don't think that I just don't think it's really worth experimenting with it for that much longer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't really disagree with that. It's just having a ripple effect. Like I said, Aston Genty, yes, they had like 25 yards rushing. He's dealing with loaded boxes and everything like that. So, yeah, he's obviously going to struggle. I know Brock Bowers is out, but I doubt Brock Bowers' insertion into the lineup would make that much of a difference because Geno right now looks like a guy who's cooked, and if he were to last in the NFL any longer, he's a break in case of emergency backup quarterback. And you only need him for like a game or two, and then you give him the clipboard again. Like, he is not a guy you want 17 games a season at this point in his career. Like, he had that nice little run with the Seahawks for a couple of years, but I think that was the height of Geno Smith.
Credit to him. He got that hot streak and he said, yeah, getting myself paid, and that was it.
Yeah. Because after that Jets stint, like, a lot of people thought he was never going to start again. So I can't be mad at him. He got some money out of it, but yeah, his days as a starter should be numbered. All right, let's go pick. So these are the picks last week. I feel like everybody had a rough week last week. So Brett, you went 2-4. I went 3-3. I'm still at 500, 11-1. You're 9-13-1. Like I said, it is what it is. Weird week. Currently, you need both these Monday night games to have a 3-3 week. And looking at some of these games, I see why you went with the Steelers. We saw what happened in that game. Falcons. This is what, from my time being in Atlanta, that I've learned about the Falcons. You want to give them some credit. They do something like they did last night. Niners are beat up. Falcons coming off of the momentum from the Bills game. But they're on the road, and they look like a mess. They look like all they could rely on was Bijan Robinson. Yeah, 49ers knew that too. Penix, I think Penix is on the injured report now with a bone bruise or something in his leg. And it's just like, well, I guess we're back where we are with the Falcons and that they're just a mid team. We talked about the Packers game, and we talked about the Giants game, which you did get. You had Giants +7. You were dead on with that. And like we said, it looked like the Giants were going to win that outright. I had the Bengals, the Niners, Patriots -7 was a good pick. And then I went Colts +1.5. And they, won outright, obviously, over the Chargers. So tonight we both have the Lions -4.5 and the Seahawks -3.5. And right now the Lions are up 7-0. So we could be on our way there.
Yeah, say it. Amara just had a house call, so.
Yeah. So
it's all right.
We could be on our way to a win there.
Eventually, I won't be washed, so it'll happen eventually. I'll have a good week.
Yeah. No, for sure. I feel like, we were learning about some teams, because I'm like this kind of usually with my picks. Usually about mid-season, you have a better idea, and your picks get a lot better.
It was funny because, I know I picked the Falcons on here last week, but then I completely changed my course at work. made a $5 bet with somebody that the 49ers would win. And it's funny because they made the bet. They're like, at halftime when the Niners were up 10-3, I'm like, yeah, I'll take that.
Mm-hmm.
The Falcons are not good when playing from behind.
Yeah. Look, it is what it is. Like the Falcons, it's just fascinating. Home and away, just how different they are. I can't figure it out. It's been something for years now. It's just weird. But look, CMC had a big game for the Niners. Mac Jones gets another win, which I'm sure those questions will be: do you keep with Mac? Do you bring back Brock when he's ready? They paid Purdy to be a franchise guy. When Purdy's ready, Purdy will be there. But at least Mac Jones has shown he's a quality backup, and maybe he's in the running for like a starting job next year. Because I don't think his contract lasts past this year with the Niners. I don't believe. So maybe he'll be starting somewhere next year. I think he's shown that, he should at least get that opportunity. Anthony letting us know the Titans released Tyler Lockett. Okay.
Fair. I mean, if I were Tyler Lockett, I'd want to go somewhere, go to a contender somewhere.
Yeah, he's end of his career. It makes sense. I'm a big fan of Tyler Lockett. I'd like to see where he ends up. See who's a wide receiver hungry team that's kind of in the hunt.
Let's see. Buffalo could probably use another body. Say,
I wonder if there's any reporting on where he might go. Okay, well, not until 4 p.m. Wednesday. Okay, so I love how the minute I go on Twitter to see something, it's like people want Lockett, but they don't want Odell. I didn't know Odell had people riding for him like this. Like, people are still looking for Odell to get a job in 2025? No. Odell might as well file that paperwork.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's looking for one ACL Odell at this point. It's all over. Great career, but it's over, man. Like I said, respect what he did in New York. He had one of the greatest starts to a career you will ever see.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to this week's games. Now, just a little note here. If you do play fantasy football, a lot of teams are on a bye this week. So check your lineups. You have the Cardinals, Jags, the Lions, the Raiders, the Rams, and the Seahawks all on a bye. So make sure your lineups are set. So if you're new, obviously we pick the primetime games. We only get one Monday night game next week. Okay. And then we do a favorite that we like and an underdog we like to cover. So we got to start Thursday night football. Interesting matchup. The Vikings made it interesting against the Eagles, fall short. I still don't know how to really feel about Carson Wentz. I feel like he had the whole Wentz experience in that game. A couple of picks here, a couple of good throws there, whatever. Chargers we just talked about are banged up. Short week. But there's still a 3.5-point favorite at home. How do you see this going? Do the Chargers get a win? Or do the Vikings pull the upset out in LA, where there'll probably be more Vikings fans than Chargers fans?
You know what? Give me the Vikings.
Okay.
This game will be interesting, and obviously the biggest problem with the Vikings will come the fact that, Carson Wentz is still their quarterback, but at the end of the day, I trust the Vikings defense will make some plays.
Mm-hmm.
This Chargers offensive line, it's something I said before the year started I was worried about. It has not been good, especially now they're down Alt and Slater, and they have to now all of a sudden try to pick up against the Brian Flores, defense. I think as long as Carson Wentz comes in and he doesn't make any mistakes and he plays, safe football,
mm-hmm.
I think give me the Vikings. to cover.
I agree with you. I have the Vikings in the 3.5 as well. And they also need to figure out this LA thing. Why is it that the Chargers and the Rams don't have a home field advantage? I think part of it is like LA fans felt like the Raiders were their team, and it's like the Raiders were taken away from them. They're just like, whatever. It's not like you had bad teams. Like, how come they don't get any support there? I mean, Chargers obviously are more San Diego than anything. But the Rams have roots in LA. That part I don't get either.
I'd say I think you just kind of nailed it though, right? When it comes to football, LA just won isn't really a football town. LA's more of a basketball town, with the Lakers.
And
also, say when it comes to Los Angeles, there's a lot of things you could be doing in LA besides going to a football game. And when it comes to the fan base, you alienated the hardcore fan bases for those teams when you moved them to LA. So it's one of those things that you took the hardcore fans, pushed them to the side so you can move these teams to LA. But then guess what? It turns out that LA doesn't really care about football. So it's one of those things that the Rams are probably the best representative of LA. But yeah, I just think that they made a mistake in moving all three of those teams out. All of the teams out, trying to all fit them into that small area.
Yeah, that's fair. Switch that Monday night game to the Cowboys versus Denver. That wouldn't be a bad one. Commanders Chiefs, well, depending on Jaden Daniels, his health. But if it's Mariota, that's not going to be a fun game to watch. Sunday Night Football, your Packers back on primetime. Travel to Pittsburgh to face old friend Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers.
Love Rodgers, baby.
Right. So another primetime game. First one was, the Micah and the Cowboys. You get Rodgers reunion with the Packers. Packers are a 3.5-point road favorite. You going with your Packers to cover? Or do the Steelers protect home?
No, I'll go with the Packers to cover. I think it'll be a fun back and forth, but I'll take our defensive line against their offensive line, and the Steelers just have not been that great at generating pressure. It feels like every time I watch them, at least. So I think that this is going to be a Packers win. I think it'll be a back and forth game, but I'll take the Packers.
Yeah, I got the Packers as well. I trust the Packers offense more than the Steelers, and who's to say Micah doesn't get maybe not necessarily a sack, but a couple of hits on Rodgers. So, give me the Packers. Just don't let DK Metcalf loose down the field. I guess that's it. Monday Night Football, the game that Anthony would love to see swapped out. The Commanders, Jaden Daniels, TBD, traveled to Kansas City to face, like I said, one of the hotter teams in the AFC, in the Chiefs at Arrowhead on a Monday night. It's going to be crazy. The Chiefs are a 10.5-point favorite. It's a big number. But are you going with the Chiefs?
Yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs. 10.5 is a big number, but when you're looking at a Commanders team who at best are going to have Jaden Daniels with a busted up knee, I don't think this is going to be a pretty game. The Chiefs are probably just going to blow them right out of the water. So I'll take the Chiefs money line here.
Yeah, that number could be scary, but I'll take the Chiefs in the 10.5 as well. If it's Mariota, for sure. I think even if it's Daniels, there's still a case to be made that the Chiefs probably get a comfortable win with the way that they're playing right now, with their offense, I guess basically whole right now. I'll take the Chiefs. All right. So looking at the other lines, Patriots are a 7-point favorite over the Browns. Falcons 7.5 over the Dolphins. The Ravens, the lowly Ravens, are a 6.5-point favorite over the Bears. I'm kind of surprised Damien's not in here saying something about that. The Bills are a 7.5-point favorite over the Panthers, who don't look out now. Watch out now. But the Panthers are 4-3. They're above 500 football team. The Bengals are a 6.5-point favorite over the Jets, the lowly Jets. The Texans are a 1.5 favorite over the Niners. Eagles are a touchdown favorite over the Giants. Bucks 5.5-point favorite over the Saints. Broncos 3-point favorite over the Cowboys. And then largest line of the week, Colts 2-touchdown favorite over the Titans. Which favorite are you looking for to come through for you?
Oh, say favorite. I'll take. You know what? I'll take your Patriots over the Cleveland Browns.
All right. Okay. Yeah, Dylan Gabriel, the front with Myles Garrett. But I feel like the split is like the Browns play better defense at home than on the road, which that's an odd thing as well. For me, favorite, I'll take the Bucks -5.5. Like I said, the Saints will keep it close early, but I could see like a little fourth quarter, That was like Sunday night. Good. Oh, Kern's going to the Thunder Mavs game. Nice.
Well, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, underdogs. I guess who do you like to cover the spread as an underdog?
Underdog. See, this one's always tougher, right? But you know what, Kyle? I think I'm going to make you proud, and I'm going to pick the Bears over the Ravens.
Okay. Bears +6.5. I mean, look, we got to see, what the Ravens look like out of the break. Like the bye could obviously have given them a chance to regroup and get back to winning football. It could also exasperate the bad mojo that they have, and they just look the same way. So it's interesting. If Caleb Williams takes care of the ball, which I guess he's done a little bit better this year than he did last year, he should be able to make plays against that Ravens defense. Why not? I will go with definitely slim picking this week. I think I'm gonna go Cowboys +3. I get the games in Denver. I just don't like the Broncos offense right now. Cowboys offense has shown that they're pretty explosive. Dak is playing really well. Can I rely on the Cowboys defense to not necessarily implode? I'll take the Cowboys +3.
I think it's a fair bet. The problem with the Broncos are going to have to avoid getting off to a slow start because this has been a really good Cowboys offense. So if they get off to a slow start against the Cowboys, it's going to be a real tough hill to come back from.
Hey, Kerm, it's got to happen at some point. And I think this Denver team might be the group to give one up to the Cowboys finally. All right, those are our picks. I'll actually remember to put them up on the Wire to Wire page this week. So now let's get into the fun of the episode. We're going to do contender tier rankings. I agree with you, Kerm. Needs to happen this time. So we're going to do a tier list. I got it ready to go. Obviously, would like your input as well in the chat. And before I get into all that, here's opening week. If you needed to know where to go to watch The NBA. So like Sunday nights, you got ABC, NBC Peacock, Monday Peacock, Tuesday NBC Peacock, Wednesday ESPN, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday Prime with ESPN and ABC. Opening week, some good matchups here. Tomorrow night, you got the Rockets, Thunder, Kevin Durant going back home, multiple screens. Yeah. You also have Warriors, Lakers. Okay. Cavs, Knicks, Spurs, Mavericks. So fun matchups for opening week. I'm definitely excited for it. I know Brett's going to be all over it as well.
Oh yeah,
because this is the good time of the sports calendar. I guess for opening week, well, what's the matchup you're looking forward to the most?
oh my goodness. I definitely am looking forward to. Let's see. There's so many good games on that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like Cavs Knicks is always must see, but I think I'm really curious about this new look, Rockets team. So it really might be Rockets and Thunder to see how the Rockets look. KD just inked his extension. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Have national TV games on Fubo, then League Pass on the other device. Okay. Yeah. Look, if you have Prime, Peacock, ESPN, you're kind of covered every night at least. Obviously, for the team that you root for, we'll see. But I'm not mad at it. We get the NBC theme. I haven't heard the Peacock theme, but people say like the Peacock theme is really good. So I'll be interested to check that one out.
It's kind of nice having them. As annoying as it is, needing like 27 different streaming subscriptions for all of this, it is kind of nice to, give the presentation a little bit more of a variety.
Yes.
So I will say that.
Yeah. And I know we've gone through. Yes, they are absolutely the same. So, well, I think maybe I'm thinking of Prime then. I'm probably thinking one of them. It might be Prime. I might have misspoke. With somebody, I was like watching somebody, and they're like, the Prime theme is actually pretty good. Because I would assume NBC and Peacock would use the same NBC theme. So, thank you for pointing that out, Kerm. And then ESPN, ABC, we already know. All right, so let's get into this tier rank. So let me put this here. Bring this up.
Say finals matchup: Wizards Jazz.
Yeah, maybe in the NBA Cup, I guess.
Not even.
I usually get some random team in the NBA Cup, which I'm not mad at that. Hold on a second, make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Let's go. All right. So okay. I think I messed up this one here. This is not supposed to say NBA Cup. It's supposed to say
NBA champ.
Yeah, I don't know why. I could have sworn I had fixed that.
Guys, we have tricked you. We are doing NBA Cup contenders. Who cares about the NBA championship?
Right. Hold on. There we go. There we go. Dreaming of Larry O'Brien is the top tier. Obviously, your championship contenders. Kuzi or Robertson, those are the trophies for the conference winner in the East and the West. So those will probably be your playoff teams that are probably just missing something from being a legit contender for the title. Make playoffs, won't make noise. Like you're playing fringe playing teams who will just be happy to be there. Playing if we're lucky. Those teams who are kind of in purgatory. And then who's the next Cooper Flag? The teams that just have no hope at all and are looking forward to next year's draft. So we'll do this like we do every other one. Just go straight across from the start. Cleveland Cavaliers are first up. Are they a legit championship contender? Are they second tier? Where are we looking at with the Cavs?
You know what? I'll say it. I think that this team could be a legit contender this year.
Okay.
It's one of those things where as long as they can get good production out of their bench unit and everybody's healthy, I don't see why not. You got Evan Mobley shooting pull-up threes in the preseason. He clearly has expanded his game. I think it's just at the end of the day going to come down to health with these guys. I think they have the team to do it. The Lonzo Ball edition was fantastic. It's will they be healthy enough come clutch time, and that's plagued them the past couple of years with back-to-back years where Garland's hurt. So health permitting, I think this team could absolutely have dreams of a Larry O'Brien.
I think that's fair. You know, they have all the pieces. I mean, my hang up usually with the Cavs and kind of the Jazz was Donovan Mitchell as the best player. I feel like they have a bit of a ceiling, and I don't know if they can actually ever win the whole thing, but it would be crazy of me to think that they aren't going to be in the running to represent the East in the finals. So I can agree with that. All right, here's probably the first interesting one. The Atlanta Hawks. A lot of people love what they've done in the offseason. I don't think they're obviously top tier, but where are you thinking?
I think you can love what they've done while still being realistic on what they probably will be.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll make it the playoffs, probably win a first-round series, but I think that's about as much noise as they'll make. So I don't think they're contenders, but I think they're kind of in that we'll make the playoffs, but won't make that much noise.
Okay. And that's probably where I would put them. I'm in like wait and see mode with them to see how all these pieces fit around Trae Young once the season gets underway. Obviously, the questions are always going to be there about Porzingis' health. I think you have to throw Jalen Johnson in there as well because he's coming off of an injury-riddled season. And I think those two might be the most important to the Hawks' success this season. So I think putting them right there, middle tier, makes a lot of sense. Celtics, my squad, they're going to be led by Jaylen Brown until Tatum comes back, and Tatum keeps telling everybody he's coming back this year. You see the videos of him. He looks like a guy who's going to come back this year. They have promised to play an up-tempo style, which they actually have in the preseason. We'll see if that carries over to the regular season. We know how much of a stickler for his play style Joe Mazzulla is. So where do you think the Celtics go?
I feel like they're going to be on like the Hawks tier this year. They'll make the playoffs, but I don't think they'll make that much noise. It's one of those things. I have questions about their center rotation.
Mm-hmm.
I think they still have. I still think the talent's there that they'll make the playoffs, but I don't think they're like serious finals contenders. I don't think they're really serious Eastern Conference finals contenders. The only way that happens is obviously if Jason Tatum comes back, and Jason Tatum's 100%. But if I am the Celtics, I'm holding off on that because the last thing you want to do is rush him back and something terrible happens. So I think obviously you move them up if Tatum comes back, but as currently constructed, I think this is the playoff team that won't make that much noise.
Like I said, that's definitely fair because we're obviously looking at these teams right now, night before the playoffs, night before the season starts. Yeah, currently constituted. I do think Celtics are kind of there right now. If Tatum does come back, if Jaylen Brown's playing really well, Derek White, who seen my predictions, I have Derek White as I think I had him as a defensive player of the year type of guy. I think he's going to definitely be asked to do a lot. then yeah, Tatum comes back. Maybe they turn themselves into the second tier or maybe in the top tier, depending how their season goes.
So
The big man rotation is going to be a question. You have Kada, Tillman, who has slimmed down and does look better on the floor. Thank God. And then you have like a lot of unknowns, Garza and guys like that. So yeah, I think that's a fair thing to be worried about.
Yeah, that's really the spot that gets me. You nailed it. When it's Neemias Queta and Xavier Tillman as the big man rotation manning the middle, I'm just like, I'm not sure. I think Queta can be a quality player. I just have no faith that Tillman's going to be. Mm-hmm. And I have even less faith that Lou Garza is going to be.
Yeah. No, like I said, that's definitely a valid point. Nets, I don't think there's a lot to really debate about the Nets. They're looking to the draft, or you think they are playing if they're lucky? Okay. Look.
There's not enough luck in the world for that.
I mean, Brooklyn, yeah. I'm kind of here with you, Kerm. Like, the Nets will be tanking, and I don't think Nets fans necessarily hate that.
Like, you have a big three of Cam Thomas, Michael Porter Jr., and Nick Claxton is not getting you anywhere near the playoffs.
Cam Thomas and Porter Jr. on the court together. Like, that's going to be so interesting to watch. Those are two guys that love to put up shots.
The preseason was hilarious because it's just those two guys just letting it rip. No wonder why they drafted 5 pass first guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, they'll be that team that you'll, like, check in every once in a while, probably like the box score, just to see how many shots those two get on a given night. And look, if they're ever on Peacock or whatever, I might take a watch just to see. Yeah, because the draft that they had head scratching as well. I just wonder a lot about that team. Another one, the Hornets.
They're interesting because if they get lucky, I could see them being a play-in team. But that would require a lot of growth.
I feel like at this part of their process, they kind of need to be a play-in team at this point. Like LaMelo, for all the talent, Brandon Miller is a guy that I like. They have Miles Bridges. Like, you feel like they should be a play-in team. Like, that should be a given.
I think they can be, and their offense can run smoother if LaMelo Ball just cuts a lot of his bad shots out of his diet.
Yep.
Like, it's one of those things where if you can shoot an early, shot clock 3 every once in a while and be like, all right, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But when he's just running up and chucking constantly, and then occasionally he'll randomly mix in the one-legged 3. I'm like, dude, what are you doing, man?
Yep.
Like, he has the potential to be so good, and he already is, but he's so inefficient because his shot diet is just so bad that if he cleans it up and takes those shots and starts turning it into higher quality looks for teammates, yeah, this team could absolutely be a play-in team.
Like, the Hornets should be, once again, a league pass type of team where if you turn on the Hornets, you should expect them to be fast-paced, get out on the break, and be a lot of fun. They'll probably give up a lot on the other end as well, but they should at least – that should be at least good enough to be playing. What's their big man rotation? That's a good question.
Oh, the Hornets? I think it's Diabate. They got him in the draft.
Yeah.
I think they have Plumlee. I think it's Diabate and Plumlee.
Yeah, I think so.
Look it up real quick, but I believe it's those two manning the middle.
Yeah, I was looking it up. Let's see. I think that's who it is. Oh, Kalkbrenner they got in the draft too.
Kalkbrenner, that's right. That's the third guy, yeah. Because I think it was. I remember Diabate and Plumlee.
Yep.
But Kalkbrenner, yeah, I forgot about Kalkbrenner. He's there too.
Yeah.
So they pretty much just have a lot of young guys.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as they're just not getting obliterated in the middle, they should be all right.
Oh, they have Colin Sexton too. It's hard to keep with Colin Sexton these days.
Sorry.
Same guy. Yep.
Just
And
play.
then Knuppel.
Hey, 6'7" shooter. That should be perfect next to LaMelo.
Mm-hmm. That's
Say,
what I'm saying. Like on a certain night, they might just be a fun team to just watch, offensively at least.
I'd say they just look, just run the offense through Plum Dog Millionaire and call it a night.
Right. Oh, wish Will was in the chat. The Bulls are up.
Who's the next Cooper Flag?
Yeah.
They're a team that that team that you only watch for one player.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be me with the Bulls because, like, do I actually want to watch the Bulls?
No.
Not really, but do I also want to watch the development of Matas Buzelis throughout the course of the year? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think people in Chicago want to watch them necessarily. Same spot as okay, so Kerm says playing. I don't know. Maybe at the end we'll see if the Bulls are worthy. I would leave them there as well. Dallas. The first full year without Luka. You have AD. I guess Kyrie Irving will be back at some point this year.
I am.
What are the Mavs?
I don't think this team's making much noise in the playoffs. Here's my concern with the Mavs is one, is Kyrie going to be back this year?
Right, they seem to be banking on that like it's a certainty.
Like, I don't think that's certain. Like, if I'm Kyrie, I'm just taking as much time as I need, even if it's just this season.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, because they're probably like Cousy or Robertson contenders in all reality. I'm just unsure with them because it feels like they're going to end up leaning too far into lineups one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen them tease lineups with Flag, PJ Washington, Clay, AD, and Lively. I'm like, all right, so I can just neutralize your entire offense with a box and one.
Yeah.
Unless if Cooper Flag just comes out, shooting like a flamethrower. So if he shoots well enough, then you got two shooters besides Clay, but then you're playing with three non-shooters. Or you could switch them out with D'Lo, but then you're just kind of tanking the defense. So it just feels like that their lineups are going to be slanted one extreme or the other. And it all kind of stems from the fact that Anthony Davis wants to be a four when his skill set is just, at this point, better suited to be a 5. It is what it is. But if he wants to play a 4, that's fine. But it's just going to muck up the spacing, especially if they want to play PJ Washington too.
Yeah, because that's going to be the interesting thing is, like, what lineup does Kid kind of settle on? Like, I went to ESPN, like, their depth chart, they put D'Lo at the 1, Clay at the 2, Cooper at the 3, AD at the 4, Lively at the 5. We very well will get that lineup probably certain junctions of the game, but I don't know if that's going to be the starting lineup because, like you said, Kid keeps talking about, like, Flag at the point. It seems like that's going to be a real experiment, which I gotta see that in, like, regular season action. But yeah, I'm with you. I think the Mavs are a playoff team, but they're not a contender. Like, you're not worried about them. Denver Nuggets is it just the Jokic effect that we put him up here? Do we think that we're here?
I was going to say, if that horse racing Serbian's on the team, they're dreaming of Larry O'Brien.
Yeah.
This is a team that
got paid as well.
Look, this is a team that took OKC to 7 last year. This is a very dangerous team, and they did that with Aaron Gordon being on one good leg. Jamal Murray apparently only had one good shoulder, so I think that this is I think this is just a team that you cannot count out as long as they have Jokic. He's that dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Another fun team, the Pistons. Love the direction they're going in. Still a young team, but I think in the current East, they could be.
They could come out of the East.
Right. I don't think I'd put them here, but
no,
that would make sense.
Like I said, I think them and say I think they're definitely. I think they could definitely go there. I think them and the Mavs could definitely go right in that tier next to each other.
Damn it. Oh, you said the Mavs?
Yeah.
Oh, you're moving the Mavs up? Okay.
Yeah, you know what? At the end of the day, Anthony Davis is still a really good player, and I think Cooper Flag will develop into a good player really quickly. So,
And Clay's got the Meg the Stallion effect, I guess.
yeah.
The Warriors. They're an old team. They still have Steph Curry. They have Jimmy Butler. They have my guy, Al Horford. Which is gonna be so it's gonna hurt not seeing him in green, but hey, he's still in the league somewhere. You gotta be happy.
I feel like that this is a team that's just going to end up making the playoffs, but not a lot of noise.
Yeah.
I feel like this team's just going to run out of gas at some point. This is the oldest team in the league.
And that's saying something. We have a league with the Clippers.
Right. Like, this is an old team. And it's an older team that obviously when we're dealing with, say, we had unfortunate injuries with them last year.
Mm-hmm.
So if they come back healthy, like they could maybe, if everything breaks right, they could get a top 6 seed. But I don't think they do much more than that because even if they say they stay healthy, I don't like their bench.
Yeah.
Like you can buy into, say, obviously Pods will probably have to start him or Buddy, but then your bench is literally just Buddy Hield and Jonathan Kuminga, who Steve Kerr doesn't like. So I just really don't like the dynamics of this team. So I don't think they're a real championship contender.
Right. Because once again, ESPN, it's Curry, Moses Moody, Butler, Draymond Green, Horford. Like I said, the bench is basically Pods, Hield, and Kuminga. That's it. Well,
yeah,
Jackson Davis, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'm good on that. I'm out.
Like some nights they're gonna look great because that's just how it is in the NBA. Then other nights they are gonna look like an old team. There you go, Kerm co-signing. Rockets, I mean, KD edition, the young guys they already have there.
Dreaming of that Larry O'Brien.
Yeah, and they extended KD for 2 years, so they're giving themselves a 2-year window to make it happen.
Say they have not only do they have KD, they love Sengun, Amen Thompson, Reed Shepherd looked terrific in that last summer league game. Like this team, as long as the young guys, continue to grow and develop at the pace that they've already been developing, this team is going to be tough to beat. Granted, I'm not sold on them starting both Sengun and Steven Adams. That just seems like a spacing nightmare. And pushing KD to the 3 to guard smaller and faster players doesn't seem ideal.
Yeah,
but that's going to be a lot of length to deal with. So, but I think they might, be experimenting with lineups throughout the season. But make no mistake about it, this team is dreaming of Larry O'Brien, and they could very well win one this year.
I was looking at, ESPN's depth chart. They have Jabari Smith at the 4, but we'll see. Pacers, no Halliburton, no Miles Turner, but you still have Rick Carlisle, and you still have, Nembhard, your Nesmiths, guys like that. I mean, is it safe to put them here? Like they probably still make the playoffs. They just obviously without Halliburton, that's a big part of what they do. Maybe they don't make that much noise.
Yeah, no, their depth tends to get them in. Their depth probably still gets them in, right?
Yeah, I agree. All right, the AARP team, the Clippers. I feel like some would probably put them here if everything breaks correctly.
Yeah, you know what? I'm down for it.
Yeah.
The thing with the Clippers is obviously they have injury concerns and they are also very old. But I like their bench a lot better than the Warriors bench. And they're gonna obviously play at a much slower pace to complement, their team. So overall, I think I just really like the Clippers team more than the Warriors, and I don't mind moving them up a tier from them.
Yeah, like they have to manage the regular season with a fine tooth comb. Like they got to make sure when you get to June, Harden healthy, Beal's healthy, Kawhi, Brooke
Batum.
Lopez, like Batum, Chris Paul, like it's that medical staff has a task on their hand. Oh, they have John Collins. I forgot he's there. Like, how long before we get the John Collins trade rumor? He can't have a season without one.
Oh, fair enough. Don't worry, playing. You're gonna start filling up rather shortly here.
The Lakers.
Not with them.
Luka, Reeves. Are they here?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're. I almost want to put them as Kuzma or Robertson contenders. That being said, I think I probably bump them down one because I just hate their bench.
Yeah,
their bench is just so bad. I don't trust it. Like, I'm just. I think the starting lineup will be fine, and that's what'll get them to the playoffs. But yeah, that bench, I can't do it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, look, hopefully they don't dig themselves too big of a hole. Like what LeBron's going to miss the first 3 weeks, I think they said. So,
No,
but you got Luka, slim down Luka. That should
Yeah.
be interesting to watch. I mean, look, some Lakers fans probably will put him here because they're just not necessarily in love with the team, but we'll put him there. I can agree with that. The Grizzlies, who
playing.
just seem like they just can't stay healthy. Period.
Say yes. Scotty Barnes Jr.'s hurt. Ty Jerome's hurt. Like, I just think that the duo of Ja and Jaren Jackson Jr. aren't a duo that you can win a title with. I don't think it's a duo that you can necessarily build around. And I think that's what they're going to find out this year. So
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a play-in team. If lucky, they're not going to be that good.
Yeah, I had questions about when it was the trio with Desmond Bane. I think we talked about it even last year. Like they're gonna have to make a decision on one of them. They decide to move Bane out. I think what they'll learn is, like you said, Jaren Jackson and Ja aren't it either. So they're probably gonna have another decision to make. How do you build around those two? Like Ja Morant is dynamic when he's on the court. There's still limitations. I feel like he has improved his shooting a little bit. Probably need to see a little bit more there. And Jaren Jackson, he's frustrating to watch sometimes because he's got that cat finesse side to him. And then he has probably a little more aggression than Cat does, but it's just like you don't see it enough. He's a guy who kind of gets bullied by other teams. But let's keep this going. The Heat.
Oh man. They're probably playing the lucky team like Hero Adebayo. They have enough talent there to like sneak into the play-in, but that being said, that is just it's not talented enough to do much more than that.
I agree. The Bucks. I mean,
I'll let you pick their spot because I'm a little biased, of course. I would put them as Kuzma or Robinson contenders just for the love of the game. The right answer is probably make playoffs, but it won't be much noise. But I believe in my team. We're dreaming of Larry O'Brien, of course.
so here, I mean, look, my thought process has always been if you have Giannis, you have a shot. I think before that used to be you had a shot here. I think this season with Giannis, I think they have a shot here. I don't know how it looks to get them there. I just can't count out Giannis.
Yeah, I say I'm a little skeptical because we have a guy named Kyle Kuzma still on our basketball team.
Oh yeah.
And Glenn Rivers does exist, so
I did forget about Kuzma. It's easy to forget about Kuzma.
I wish I could forget about Kuzma. My life would be so much better if I didn't try to go to sleep at night and just get to relive his 35% shooting at the rim in the playoffs. That was nightmare fuel. Like, look, if
Giannis
you're missing difficult shots, that's one thing. But when you're just bricking
at the
layup
rim,
after layup, like,
yeah.
dude, China's calling, man. Pick up.
Giannis, Miles Turner, Trent Jr. was good for them. Porter Jr. is a key. That small forward spot, just in general. Kuzma, Torian Prince, brutal. But I'm fine leaving them second tier.
Yes.
T Wolves.
Oh, I think they could absolutely. Let's see.
Are they second tier? I think they're.
I
second.
feel like they have to be, right. Like, this
Yeah.
is a team that's made the Western Conference Finals back-to-back years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'd put them second tier.
Current saying Giannis requested trade. I mean, he just got his second brother there. Like, give him some time to enjoy the city at least. New Orleans. Slim down Zion. Will that mean 50 games? 60?
I almost want to do play in with lucky, because if this team gets lucky and stays healthy, Zion plus like Herb Jones and Trey Murphy probably gets him into the play in. That being said, yeah, I think that's just the perfect spot for them. Let me put it that way. Because if they're lucky, they could make the play in. They're not contending for anything, but could be a play in team, I guess.
Look, I think if you're a Pelican fan, this is probably reality, but they probably should expect to be at least here by now. And the fact that they aren't, that speaks to kind of the disaster of the Zion era, at least so far. Can he turn it around? Sure, with a good year. All right, let's knock out these last teams here. The Knicks. I know New York wants to put them there. No, slow down. Despite Cat, I don't know if you saw this. Cat today said he doesn't know his role in the new offense. Night before the season, this is what we're saying. I'd be worried.
Yeah,
I think you gotta kind of put them there.
I'm not putting them anywhere any higher than that.
Yeah.
We got Cat confused on his role, and I still don't know if you can play Jalen Brunson and Cat defensively at the same time in clutch time. So there's a question marks. They do have a great team, and if they make it to the finals, I wouldn't be too shocked. I hope not, because Stephen A would be insufferable. That being said, I'm not buying in on the Knicks as a title contender quite yet.
Yeah. Thunder, I mean, it's safe to say.
What's the next Cooper flag? No, I'm kidding. Kidding,
best front office probably in the league. Like, yeah. Magic, fun team. A fun team for the show, because we're both high on the Magic. I'm putting them here.
I think that's the best spot for them. This Magic team I could very easily see making the finals, but that being said, they haven't proven anything yet. So I think that second tier is perfect for them.
Yeah. Oh, Sixers. One of the hardest teams to predict.
Play in if lucky.
Okay. I mean, look,
it's
hard to, expect Embiid to all of a sudden play 70 games. It's hard to expect Paul George to play like 70 games. This is a team that's Maxey, McCain,
Edgecombe.
Yeah, like that's their future. But you almost feel like those three would be better off if Embiid and PG weren't there. But unfortunately, they are. So now you have to try to mix those three guys who could play at up tempo with two guys who you don't want playing up tempo because you don't know if their body could handle it. Yes. Williams will miss opening night. He's letting his wrist heal, but so what? Best roster. So I mean, I'm fine with the Sixers there.
Yeah, say it's going to take a lot of luck to do anything for them, considering that would require Joel to play a majority of the games and
Mm-hmm.
Paul George to turn back from Pandemic P to PG-8, so
Yeah.
it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Like their ceiling is probably just here. So the Suns, I mean, you got Devin Booker. At least you got that. Outside of that,
They're weird because, like, they're going to be in the lottery, I think for sure. That being said, like, we'll probably put them in the play-in if lucky because they're in that weird spot where if there's like a tier between like play-in if lucky and Cooper Flag, that's
they'd be
exactly where
there.
they'd be.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be like Bulls, Nets, Wizards level bad. That being said, they'll probably, make a play-in team.
Mhm.
But they'll also be in the lottery. Like they're in a really weird like limbo spot.
Right. Yeah. They'll be there. You're not expecting them to like win the plane or anything. Blazers, young team. They
Playing if lucky.
Yeah. They gave contracts to what, Kamara and Sharp, I believe.
Sharp, yeah, and Kamara both got contracts. I think between a defense with a Drew, Kamara, Kling Kong, like
they're going to be tough on some teams.
They're going to be a really tough defense to crack this year. Like they could legitimately be a playing team. I wouldn't be surprised.
The Kings light the beam.
They ain't lighting it that much this year.
Right.
Say who
playing like
no, I'm putting them in the who's the next Cooper Flag territory. Like
you feel bad for Sabonis.
Like Sabonis will be great, but like you're running a lineup with Russ, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray. There's really nothing you're doing with that. So, GG's with that.
Schroeder, Malik Monk. That's gonna be rough. Spurs. Everybody's loving the direction of the Spurs. I feel like here.
I would say make the playoffs, won't make noise.
Okay. I know like a lot of people are high on the Spurs, but yeah, actually that does probably make more sense. Like
I was okay putting the Magic there because they have gone to the playoffs and pushed teams like the Cavs to 7 games.
Yeah.
The Spurs haven't even made the playoffs with Wemby yet. And the thing with the playoffs is a lot of times rookies see it, they struggle that first run. I think that's kind of what's going to happen, that they'll make the playoffs, but guys like Harper, Vassell, like those young guys will really feel the pressure. So I don't think they're a legit like threat to come out of the West this year. I think they're well on their way because I think their young guys need to get into the pressure cooker at least once.
Yeah. They're building. They're on the rise for sure. All right, these next two, probably don't need to spend a lot of time
Cooper
on
Flag.
the Raptors.
I don't want to spend any time on the Raptors. I'd rather watch the Wizards than the Raptors.
Okay.
The Raptors just have a lot of like 6'11" dudes that can't shoot, and it's a weird scenario.
They're like a bunch of like the last 5-6 years has just been so odd to me.
Right, it's like all big dudes that can't shoot, and then there's just like RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly chilling. Yeah. Brandon Ingram is addicted to shooting long twos for reasons unbeknownst to the public.
Yep. I want to like Brandon Ingram so much, but
I think
he's in purgatory up in Toronto.
I think he's somebody that a lot of people just want to like, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, he's just so tough. I just don't like how many deep twos he takes constantly. You're just like kind of like big. If you literally take a step back, your offensive game would be so much more efficient.
I feel like I remember Brandon Ingram at Duke. I felt like he took threes at Duke. I mean, I know the line's a little bit further back, and maybe that's what it is. Like, because I agree with you. I don't understand why he does that either. Because it seems like a guy who could shoot a good percentage from three. I guess he's just comfortable inside the arc, which nothing wrong with that. But when you're like up against the 3-point line, that is kind of frustrating. Like, just get the extra point, take a step back. It's not that bad. Kern says Raptors will be in the play-in. Nah, I don't know. I don't know if I see that. Where's that bright future? They aren't, but they aren't going to win. Oh, sorry, but they are going to win around 25 games. Brogdon up and retired. I think he was with Washington.
He was with the Knicks, actually.
Brogdon, really? Oh,
yeah.
Well, he saw the writing on the wall. But yeah, these are our tiers, which oddly enough, the Cavs are the one team in the East we have dreaming of Larry O'Brien, but the second tier littered with Eastern Conference teams.
You know what I just realized about our tiers? We have the perfect amount of West teams making the playoffs, but we have one too many East team making the playoffs. If we demote one East team to play, and if lucky, we'll have 8 West and 8 East teams making the playoffs. I just realized that.
I was not even paying attention to that. Okay. And the weird thing is, it would be kind of hard to determine which East team to drop. Because obviously you'd have to look at the Pacers, Celtics, and the Hawks.
Like, a lot of people would just say it's the Hawks, but in all reality, it's probably just the Pacers.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, the Celtics, you can say, okay, like, I've seen them play at a high level without Tatum. They probably play well enough to make the playoffs anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The Hawks, I think that they just have this perfect blend of old and young talent that's also just long. I love the Porzingis pickup. The Pacers are in a weird sense where, like, Nesmith is good. They have a lot of good talent, but losing both Turner and Halliburton, I don't know. Like, if I was going to demote one team, it'd probably be the Pacers.
Yeah. I mean, look, I feel like for the fun of it, we can leave it like this. This is something that we will definitely come back to during the year. I think it kind of speaks to how, look, a lot of people are looking at the East as, Eastern Conference and all that kind of stuff. I think it could be a lot of fun in the East. And a lot of that obviously is contingent upon like the Magic being healthy, because we were kind of with the Magic last year, and then like injuries ravaged the team. The Knicks are the Knicks. The Bucks are a team that you kind of don't know where they will be, but as long as Giannis is there, he's going to will them as far as he can. The Pistons are a fun team, but look, the Pistons aren't necessarily a proven bunch either. And then, like you just said, the Celtics and Pacers are dealing with major injuries, but they should have enough talent to be somewhat relevant. And then the Hawks, look, if everything bounces the Hawks' way, the Hawks could be a second-tier team. It's just that we got to see it, though. We got to see, because we've seen Trae Young paired up with other players and it just hasn't worked. So we can't not automatically determine that, yeah, Porzingis and all those guys are going to work with him either. So I think this works out. And once again, most teams kind of fall in tier 2, 3, and 4 in the middle. You have just the 4 at the top, and then the 5 at the bottom are like the obvious choices. So
fair enough.
I will post that as well on the Wire to Wire page. So if you see it up there, you want to leave a comment, you can definitely do that. But that's all we have. I mean, Brett, anything you want to kind of let people know before we get out of here?
Yeah, I know it's been away for a couple weeks because my work schedule has changed. So that's why, obviously we moved to Mondays now.
Mm-hmm.
But next week, we're going to be starting on the ball an hour earlier. We'll be going 5 to 7. That way we can make room on the schedule there for the Meaty Boys. So we're going to have the return of Meaty Boys podcast, and we're going to have a very special guest next week. Former WWF and WCW wrestler and currently owns his own independent wrestling company in Brew City Wrestling. We're going to have Frankie DeFalco on the show. So definitely check us out next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. He's wrestled a lot of your favorite wrestlers, matches against guys like the Legion of Doom, and just a lot of high-profile matches on his ledger. On obviously Thursday, we got the start of the NBA season, so we'll give you an update on what we're going to do because it might be too tempting not to bust out a watch along on Thursday. First one in since the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so like Brett said, Mondays at I always have to remember Brett talks about Central Time. So if you're in the East, 6 Eastern will kind of be the new home for On the Ball. So make sure set your alarm, put a reminder on your calendar. Mondays at 6 for On the Ball. Like I said, Meaty Boys are back. And then you also get Sports Report still on Mondays. So Mondays will be packed here on the network. So make sure you check out Coffee and Sports in the morning. Like I said, Sports Report come up in a little bit. And yeah, get ready for the NBA season because now we will be talking a lot of NBA each week, obviously along with the NFL. So this is where you want to be for our conversations on those two sports and everything. So appreciate all of you for tuning in. Really do. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, you hit the like button. If you are not following or subscribed to Wire to Wire Network, you can do so now. And we'll see you next week. Enjoy the rest of your week. We're out of here. Like I said, Coffee and Sports in the morning. Get you started on your Tuesday. So for myself and Brett, see you next week. Bye.